Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I actually haven't recorded a video in I think like 3 or 4 months, because as you'll know from some of my previous videos, at the beginning of them I've said if anything changes I'll add it in the comments and things because I'm traveling. So I pre-recorded a load of videos. So yeah, this is the first time in like 4 months I've had the opportunity to sit down and actually record a video. And it's like mid-December now, 2022. This video on my phone in front of a window with just some natural light. So I'm sorry if the quality isn't amazing, but I just feel like I need to do one video and get it out of the way and kind of get back into it, because I do feel a little nervous talking again. So this video today is going to be about Paris Hilton and the Provo Canyon School. Also, I drank like 4 coffees today to like get ready, which I don't think obviously helped with recording and talking, but I drank about 4 coffees and I'm pretty sure my teeth are a little stained, so just ignore that. Also, my friend here has 2 dogs that are going around barking and doing the wrong thing, and one of them is deaf, so even if I say they don't hear me. So if they bark, we're just gonna let it go. Can't find my heat protector, so yeah, it's a red flag for watching this video. Make sure you always wear a heat protector when you're going to put heat on your hair. 17th of February 1981 is the year that Paris Hilton was born, which today as I'm recording makes her 41. And can we just say how fucking hot she is? Absolutely stunning. So she got married last year. I didn't really look too much into her husband because I didn't really think he had anything to do with this to a certain degree. Neither did her family really, because we're kind of going to talk about the school. We know she was born into like one of the most wealthiest families in the world. She was a massive socialite, and I think how she's gathered most of her fortune, because perfume line, she has 25 perfume lines, and I use one of her perfumes and I've used them for years. It's the Can, the original one. The second one, it was like slightly different, I didn't like it as much, but the Can, that's the perfume I use every day and I absolutely love it. It's like my favorite one ever. Through looking, like going through like what kind of made her famous, it was her sex tape in 2004, A Night with Paris, that kind of shot her fame up, and people say that's why Kim Kardashian did it as well. And obviously it's worked for both of them, so you know, if I knew people were going to watch it of me, I'd probably do one. Let's get real. And then obviously her TV show with Nicole Richie, The Simple Life. And she's kind of one of them people that is famous for being famous, but I think obviously coming from the wealthy, well-known, established family that she did have a certain help on the ladder to kind of get there. Being just having the surname Hilton just got her into clubs, into like restaurants. The paparazzi wanted to follow her, because if she did anything big, it was almost like a bad reflection on her family. People can say what you want about the whole dumb blonde persona, but she's turned it into a billion-dollar company and industry, because I think Paris Hilton kind of is an industry. She's sang, she's acted, I think she's like big now in like the DJ world, so I think she's kind of like an example of how you can turn not nothing, because she did have, you know, her name and the wealth behind her already, but she's an example of how you can turn a negative, as in being called a dumb blonde, being a negative because of how she was portrayed in the media, as if the dumb blonde was a really bad thing, how she turned it into such a successful woman. And I think honestly she's probably one of the most smartest women in the world that has done it, and from watching her documentary as well, I really think she is. But in 2022 she absolutely shocked the world with her documentary, This is Paris, and everything we knew about Paris Hilton was a complete and utter lie. Face was fake, the dumb blonde was fake. The video as to date has 75 million views, and it's all about her time in Provo Canyon, which we're going to talk about her time and some other things that are about it, but I will put in like a trigger warning about abuse, you know, just harm to like teenagers and kids. So I think if anything like that is like a bit triggering to you, I would say skip this video, because it's going to talk quite a bit about it. I'm going to start off with a bit about the school's history, kind of just things about it, why it was made, its first controversy, and kind of why they've got away with it for so long, I think, is an important point to point out as well. So we're going to go through a little bit of that. So it was founded in 1971. Today there are 2 campuses, but when it was originally built and made, there was only the boys campus, and then through the success of having the boys campus, they realized obviously there's naughty girls that need to be taught a lesson. Actually, that sounds really wrong. I don't mean it like that. It's just everything about this story is a little bit uncomfortable, so it's kind of like, I can't believe it's real. Cost a month is $12,500. I know even if you convert it into any other currency, it's not as much, but it's still so much money. That's thousands of dollars a month to send your kid to a school that they were literally just getting abused in. And I don't know how anyone can actually like live with themselves now, knowing that they spent all that money to just put their kid through more trauma when they were probably already put in there because they had some sort of trauma and were acting out. So it was like a school first designed for boys that had potential like mental health problems, they had drug issues, and it was an 8 to 12 month program. And then the girls' school opened up. So on the website and different articles, when it like first came about, they kind of came out saying they've cracked the code on how to fix kids or young teenagers with problems to do with mental health or drugs. And you know, I kind of get why there would be a school like this, and if it was like in the proper program, in the right format, it probably would be amazing to have somewhere that you could learn all about mental health when you're suffering, or if you have some sort of drug issue at such a young age, or a drinking issue or anything. It would be nice if you could go somewhere, because sometimes talking to family or friends, or even going to therapy and then coming home in the evening, it's still quite triggering. So if you could go somewhere that could help, and it probably would have worked out really well. But the way they went about it, it obviously didn't turn out to work at all, really. So they talk about on the website that they're basically there to care, support, help, kind of like cure these kids of their problem, which all sounds good. But when you look into it like a little more and read the different stories and the times that they have been sued and stuff, it's like, how did this school go on for so long without anything being said? Like, how did Paris Hilton go to this school for so long ago, and for it to continue on? I don't know how no one came out talking about it, or maybe like someone did try come out and talk about it, but they were shut down. And obviously Paris has had her own reasons for holding it back, but she's really brave to finally come out. But some part of me kind of wishes that she should have come out a bit earlier, but everything happens for a reason, and the right timing has come. Because if she had come out like 10-15 years ago, when like YouTube wasn't a thing, or you know, like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, so people can't scream about it, the public can't scream about it, it's only the newspapers that can, nothing probably would have been done, and then she probably wouldn't have been able to bring it up again. So I think the timing obviously aligned right with the world, but at certain points it's like, oh, you just wish it came out a little bit earlier. But she talks about, and other people I've seen interviews and videos of, they all reference the fact that they weren't called by their name, they were just giving a number. So it was like 1 2 3 4 5 6 8 9 10, and they were just given their number, and that's exactly what they were called by. So they were completely dehumanized to like lower their confidence and their grasp of life, and just harm them even more. Even just not calling someone by their name, just calling them by their number in a situation like this, I feel is so and harmful to young teenagers. So they had absolutely no privacy. They were told what underwear to wear, they were told where to sleep, they were told when to sleep. Obviously like teenagers probably need to be told to sleep, but told when to sleep. Their mail was checked, so they had absolutely no privacy. So even if they tried to write home and say they're having a problem or an issue, they couldn't, because if they wrote that in a letter, they would then be punished. Solitary confinement. Now I know back in the day there obviously wasn't any research on this, but I think there's been enough research since the school has been built and made to know that solitary confinement is really wrong. I think for anyone in any situation, whether you're a murderer or you're a child in a school, I think solitary confinement is the worst thing, because it just leaves you with your thoughts. It makes you build up, makes you fester, makes it worse. So I feel like it's just never been good for anyone. I'm not really sure, does it really happen anymore? Probably in some prisons and schools like this, but it does not help anyone's mental health. And I think even like years ago, when when someone thought a child was different or acting unusual, and now we know that it's like mental health issues and stuff, I still feel like back then you still should have known, leaving a kid by themselves for that long to fester bad thoughts and angry thoughts and sad thoughts, it's not good for them. 80 was the first time any bad news came out about this school. So there was 2 students that ran away and then sued the school and tried to get people in the state involved. For the case, he said, she said, the school ended up winning, because I guess if it's a school that's for students that are bold and reckless, and you have a bold and reckless 2 guys going to the judge saying, well, I just didn't like it there, and just giving out, the school has a good fight against that because they had the authority. And back years ago, I don't think kids really had a say in the 80s about things. Life was a lot different then versus now. They didn't have like iPhones to take photos. The school was able to like delete footage or it would go missing. So I think kids that have issues, they're not just problem kids and sent away to like, my phone keeps going funny with the video, so I'm just gonna have to skip a little and talk before it just completely breaks or something wrong. Anyway, so it's just sad that it took so much time for this to come out in the press and for the world to see, but it took until 2020 when Paris came out with her video. So the video, I think we're watching the documentary, was like a little bit confusing when she kept talking about having nightmares about people coming into her room and harming her. I actually thought it was going to be a different kind of video. It turned out like just as bad, but I did think it was going to be like a different kind of video when she first started talking about this. So she talked about people coming into her house in the middle of the night and basically kidnapping her, and she screamed for her parents, but they didn't come to save her. And just that alone must have been so terrifying, and being put in a stranger's car with strange people around you taking you away. To me, that just seems like one of the scariest and creepiest things that could happen to a child, and having no idea where you were going. And then watching other videos about other people that have gone through this as well, like similar schools, or even this, a lot of them were the same school, because I was obviously looking up the Provo Canyon, and it's just crazy the amount of kids that had to go through something similar as this, like young as like, I think it was 12. I think there was one 8 years old that went through a lot as well, but like as young as 12. But Paris was 16, and basically she was sent there because she was just being a teenager and going out with her friends and going to parties. But I think it was just to do with the fact that her family were so wealthy and powerful, they were almost embarrassed that if anything came out about their daughter, it was a reflection on them. But I think watching this really makes it 20 times worse than if something had come out then. And I know like the media is so different now than it was like years ago, but just how this has affected her, but how she's turned it into her business as well is inspiring, but still crazy. So she would talk about how they would have to sit and stare at a wall for hours and forced to take medication that they didn't know what it was. So if they were giving you medication, if you were to ask like, what am I taking this tablet for, they would say shut up and take it, or just take it, and like hit you or something. Even if they had told the kids just what they were taking, this is medication for ADHD, this is medication to relax you, this is medication to wake you up, whatever it was for, it probably would have made everyone's life so much easier. But Paris said she thought the workers got off on abusing these kids and harming them in different ways. And I think it's like the whole control thing, because for me to work in a school like that, where I know the students have issues and going through all this, I think it would be heartbreaking if I had to force them to take medication without telling them what it is. And I know there's like previous people that have worked in these schools that have come out talking about it, saying that it's not true, and other people saying it is true and I did it because of X, Y, and Z. But I think it's just really scary that someone actually has to go through this. But on the medication, so Paris was given this medication, and eventually this is why I think she's really smart. So eventually she decided that I'm just going to not take it. And then when they found out, she was put in solitary confinement. I can't exactly remember why or how long. And then she threatened to tell her parents, and the school was like, go tell them. Who are they going to believe? You, delinquent, or us who are in charge and trying to help you? Do you not think they're just going to think you want to go home because you're sick of being here? So then she felt like she couldn't tell her parents. And she was there for 11 months. At the end of the documentary, she met with a lot of other survivors that she was in the school with at the same time. And they all talked about their stories and shared them. You know, they were talking about like locking the doors, abuse, the hitting they would get, the beatings that they would get and things. It just seemed absolutely insane that something like this could actually happen. Some of the girls actually spoke about that when they seen The Simple Life with Paris Hilton in it, they couldn't believe, because they would have chores to do in these schools, as in sweep the floors and clean and do dishes. But in The Simple Life, Paris played the dumb heiress perfectly, as in she didn't know where a mop was, she didn't know how to wash dishes. I actually haven't watched The Simple Life. I've seen random clips of it, so I understand kind of what it's about. But she would play this really dumb character that didn't know how to do anything, that basically was handed everything on a silver platter, and all of a sudden she has to go live with her friend. And I think the woman that was talking, she was like, I was watching this and I just couldn't believe it was the same person. It was so strange to watch. But one thing I did get from this is the fact that none of them women went to the paper and spoke about Paris, as in to tell the story that The Simple Life story was lies. That wasn't actually who she was. She went to Provo Canyon and she knows how to mop the floor. What that spoke to me was like some sort of loyalty that they had for Paris, even though without ever talking to her, without knowing that one day Paris would do this documentary and want to get their voice heard. To me, that was like serious loyalty. These kids knew exactly, well, not kids because they're all women now, they knew exactly what Paris had gone through and why maybe she was acting the way she was or doing what she was, because she had to protect herself and just try get out of her family bubble, and she obviously just wanted to make her life bigger. So it was a real kind of like nice thing to kind of notice that they were still protecting each other without them even noticing. And it seemed like all these women, a lot of them still have issues. Paris still has issues. A lot of them still go things. Some of them have set up charities and done things to help. But I think Paris Hilton opening up about this has really helped change the laws. So while looking up what's happening now with the school, I think it's still a school and there's still students there. And what is so confronting to me, that even though I'm going to talk about things that they've had to do since, if I had a troubled child or a child that was acting up and I felt like I couldn't look after them, the last place I'd send them is somewhere like Provo Canyon. Even if all the staff have been replaced and the owners have been replaced and the principal or whatever they're called had all been replaced, I still think there'd be a bit of me that would be a little bit uneasy about sending my kid there. And I mean, if you have $12,500 spare a month, I'm sure you can afford any school that's like this. I don't know if this is like the average price for a school like that in America. I'm not sure, but I presume if you have that much money, you're going to be able to send your kid wherever they need to get help. That's the way I look at it. So the survivors and protesters are trying to get the school shut down, but they have not got shut down. Called breaking code silent. They are trying to change the law in Utah where the school is. So there has been a new law put in place in the state, and I presume it's all over the country, but this law seems like something that every school should know. It shouldn't have to be a law. So the law basically states that you can't harm the kids, you can't kidnap them, you can't put them in solitary confinement, you can't abuse them, you can't harass them. To me, it seems crazy that this has actually had to be a law that's put in place that's not just common sense. Not completely shut down. I just don't understand how these kids aren't being protected by shutting down the school. But at the same time, when I was looking into like why it wasn't shut down and stuff, it made me think that maybe there's another school that is worse or just as bad as Provo Canyon was, and they're not being looked at because a celebrity hasn't spoken up or someone hasn't screamed loud enough. So if this Provo Canyon, who has these new laws set in place, parents know, maybe they'll keep a better eye on it, so they can't go to another school that hasn't been investigated yet, and then maybe starting a new cycle, and in 20 years time someone else has to come out and speak about it. So I think it all is a little confusing. I think one of the saddest parts about the video about the documentary of Paris, and I'll just add this in at the end. She's talking to her mother, and the interviewer is talking to her mom, and her mom hadn't even known that she had been in solitary confinement. So to me, it's kind of like, and I've seen Paris Hilton on the Rich Housewives, and she seems a little bit hazy, you know what I mean? Like she's not fully there any day. Not that she's got like issues, but just I think that she lives in such a land of wealth and fame that a lot of us won't ever or could never comprehend. So I think she just lives on a different planet to us sometimes. But she didn't even know her daughter was in solitary confinement, and to me it's just like, have you not actually asked your daughter when you knew she was going to do a documentary, and Paris actually talked to her and she just kept saying, well, we thought it'd be best for her. We thought it would be best for her. Never once did she apologize or say, I'm sorry for sending you there, or can I help in some way? I'm pretty sure she'll probably share this on her Instagram and stuff, but I just feel like there was no remorse in Paris Hilton's face or expression, or just hearing about what she had gone through. There was no remorse at all for Paris. Not that she thought she probably deserved it, but I think that was an important point to say. We're doing a lot more behind the scenes to do this, and I don't think she did this for money or fame, because she's already one of the most well-known women around the world. She's already so rich and she works so hard, but you can just tell how it affects her life in different relationships, and just having to pretend to be someone different for so long must be really hard. Yeah, so I think we should all be proud of her as a woman that's gone through something so traumatic. My phone's acting completely crazy, so I can't finish this video the exact way I want to, so I need to do it quick. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and any video ideas, comment them, and I'll see you in my next video.